I want to welcome you all to what is designed to be an interactive webinar on artificial intelligence. I'm Rick Franzi. I'm the Orange County business partner for REF, as well as the global champion for what we term our technology sector. And today is our third webinar on leveraging AI, and we're going to focus, with Joey's help, on Chat GPT. As I mentioned, today is intended to be interactive. I encourage you to write your questions or comments in chat so that Joey can address them. We've developed several Chat GPT inspired poll questions that we're going to use throughout today's webinar. You know, we look forward here at REF to learning from your experiences as well as Joey's. And finally, at the end of the webinar today, you'll have the opportunity to sign up as a founding member for what we're calling here in REF, our global AI curious community. This is a special group of folks, and you don't have to be an active REF member. You're welcome, if you're a guest, to sign up for that community as well. I'm delighted to welcome members of the REF global community and guests today. And Joey's going to lead this session, and I'll be helping with the questions and the polls. Joey holds a bachelor's degree in finance and economics from the University of Florida in Gainesville, and a master's in business from University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. Joey's a specialist in mindset and personal and business productivity with over 25 years of experience in the financial services industry. 16 years ago, he founded his own company, Independent Financial Consulting, dedicated to organizing the personal finances and affairs of Panamanian families. His innovative service, Partner Project, aids businesses in crafting and managing partnership agreements, ensuring a smooth and beneficial collaboration for all parties involved. Additionally, through his personal board of directors service, Joey assists high-level executives, and business owners in breaking their limiting beliefs and accelerating the time it takes to achieve their goals. Joey conducts training at both national and international levels, working with companies such as Procter & Gamble, Tetra Pak, Adidas, Red Bull, the Panama Canal Authority, Sanofi, among others. His expertise and dedication have made him a sought-after figure in the field of financial planning, productivity, and personal development. He's also been an active speaker within our global community and a member of the REF global community. So without any further ado, let me welcome you all to Joey Levy. Joey, welcome to the webinar.
Hey, Rich, how you doing?
Good, man. Why don't we get started? If we could, since this is designed to be interactive, we're going to launch a poll. If you could look at it, it says on a scale of 1 to 5, how familiar are you with AI language models like Chat GPT? Take a moment, please, ladies and gentlemen, and vote, and we will show the poll.
I've never seen it. I've never seen the polling from this side. It's cool to watch.
Joey and I are co-hosts, so we get to see what you're doing before we release the polls for everyone to see. Okay. I'm going to... We have slightly over 100 attendees today. Thank you. We had slightly over 200 who have registered. We are recording this, and you all get a copy directly of the recording if you want to share that or review it. So I'm going to release the poll and share the results.
Yeah, so this actually jives with the exact reason why I wanted to do this seminar. It looks, could everyone see the poll right now or just us?
Everyone should be able to see the poll.
Yeah, so if I'm reading this correctly, 5 would be I'm extremely familiar with it. I use it all the time. And 0 would be I've never used this thing in my life. It looks like 19% of people, 20% of people are familiar with it, but 80% are really not. And that's part of the whole reason why I wanted to do this. Today, we're going to talk about Chat GPT. We're not going to talk about AI, because AI is this massive thing that includes a lot of different things. There's a lot of different kinds of AIs. And the reality is that I'm not here to talk about the morals and the ethics of AI, if the Terminator is going to come and kill us all, and whatever, if this is good or bad. What I want to do is add value to everyone here and show you how you can use this tool, because as a productivity coach, this is the greatest productivity tool I've ever seen. Like, this thing is off the charts. It is crazy. And so that's my purpose. There's a great quote that says the outcome determines the process. And my outcome here is to just get that 80% who seem to be not using this or are not familiar with it, and kind of open your eyes as to what this tool is and how beneficial it is. And this comes from conversations that I have with my clients. So I help people organize their personal finances and affairs, and I don't pigeonhole myself. If I think it's my role to solve problems for my clients and to add value to their lives. That's how businesses become and stay successful. Solving problems and adding value to people's lives. And so as I started to get into Chat GPT, because this tool is relatively new, it came out in November last year, and I was blown away by this thing. And I started to talk to my clients, and I realized actually it was even worse than this. I would say it was like 95% of people like, yeah, I've heard about it, or I used it to write a speech and I made everybody at my office cry on, one time, but that's not what this is. This thing is way more than that. So I started having individual conversations with business owners, and they were blown away. I was blown away by the fact that they didn't know about this thing. They didn't know how to use it. So these numbers actually completely jibe with the whole reason why we're here.
So we'll hold the other polls. If you want to begin, if you have anything you want to share, it's your time, Joey, please.
Sure. Yeah, so basically the first thing I want you guys to understand is that the real innovation here is that Chat GPT enables you to interact with an artificial intelligence like you're chatting with a person. So that means the new programming language is English or Spanish. That's the innovation. You don't need any special training. You don't even have to write that well. You can just kind of talk to it. And this thing will understand you and help you and guide you. The analogy that I give is this is almost like a person using Waze versus a person using a map, right? So if you were to go back in time 20 years, right? Like iPhone, right? And I got Rick, you're in San Diego, right?
Orange County.
Orange County. So I get dropped off. I get somewhere dropped off in Orange County. I've been there a couple of times. I get dropped off in Orange County, and I'm on one side of Orange County, and you tell me to get to the other side of Orange County, a specific address. And 20 years ago, I need a map, right? Because all this cool technology that we have today doesn't exist. The amount of people that can get a physical map and get from one part of the city to another part of the city, those people you call like a master navigator, it's a very small percentage of the population, right? I mean, that's like the classic out of the movie where like the husband and the wife are in the car fighting over the directions and all that, right? It's been made fun of in tons of movies. Well, you fast forward now and you have Waze and you drop me in Orange County and I've never been there, let's say, and I'm completely ignorant of Orange County. I don't know a thing about it. And you tell me to go from point A to point B, I'll get there faster than the master navigator of 20 years ago. Because even though the master navigator is great at doing what they do, and even if they know Orange County, they don't know that there's a traffic jam or that there's a car accident and the route that they chose is blocked. But if I'm using Waze, it'll tell me all that. So a person who's completely ignorant about something, who doesn't know anything about it, using Waze will get there faster than a master navigator who knows the city. That's the equivalent of what ChatGPT is. It's like a person using a map versus a person using Waze. And, everybody talks about artificial intelligence and says things like, oh, AI is going to take jobs. AI is not taking your job. Somebody using AI is taking your job. So you got to be in this. You got to understand it. You got to use it, right? And this Chat GPT is a version of AI that anyone can use. You don't have to have special training. You don't have to be a programmer. I had the privilege, luckily, because I'm in, if people know this, Strategic Coach, which is a fantastic program by a guy named Dan Sullivan, which helps people grow their businesses. I highly recommend it. Strategic Coach is amazing. It's changed my life. But as part of Strategic Coach, I got access to this very high-end AI seminar with Peter Diamandis and all these very high-level people. I was able to just live stream it. I wasn't able to go. To be in that room costs like a ton of money. I was able to be here in Panama and just kind of live stream it. And I watched this thing for a whole day, right? And it was all AI. And it was the coolest thing in the world, but none of it applied to me. These are very high-level CEOs talking about things for massive corporations, things like Chief Artificial Intelligence Officer, very cool. But when I got out of there, I was like, well, how does that help me? Chat GPT can help you in your day-to-day life, in your day-to-day business. So that's one of the reasons why we're here. So I think that it's important that we just kind of launch into it a little bit. And I'm gonna share my screen so we can just let me go ahead and share my screen. I'm gonna go ahead and open up a window here, Chat GPT. So I'm going to start out with some basics because we got a lot of people, if you remember the poll. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So you got a lot of people here that, if you remember the poll, they don't know anything about this thing, right? So let's just start off with like the most basic thing in the world, right? So first, let me put the little thing here so you guys can see it. And by the way, I'm going to be sending an email that includes everything I'm talking about, links, all that kind of stuff, so you can just pay attention. For those of you who don't know, ChatGPT is from a company called OpenAI. There's two versions. There's the free version where you don't pay any money. You get access to ChatGPT. It's not always available. So, and then there's the paid version, which is $20 a month, which I think is a no-brainer investment. I actually wrote an article in our local newspaper here. I think this is the best investment you can make for your business in terms of return on your investment. It's only $20 a month. And we'll talk about the features of this. Essentially, the model is a little bit more creative, has more advanced reasoning, but the most important part is these things called plugins and code interpreter, and I'll explain all that stuff in a minute, okay? So basically, you can just say, let me just give a simple example, right? Please write an email to a customer that is past due on their bill with my company, 60 days. Okay, so let's just see what this thing does. No special writing, no special training. So it's going to write the email. Okay. Now, here's one of the main features of ChatGPT. ChatGPT is a massive productivity tool because it enables you to go from 0 to 1 very, very quickly. So let's understand what that means. 0 is blank screen. 1 is first draft. When you go to write something, whether it be a PowerPoint presentation, an email to somebody, whatever you're going to write, there's a process you go through. What am I going to say? How am I going to say it? What's the structure? What's the order? What's the tone? You don't think about all this stuff. But when you go to sit down and write, that's what your brain does, right? So ChatGPT, what it does is it gets you from 0 to 1 very, very quickly. And then taking this and modifying it or tweaking it, or you can see here, dear customer's name. Okay, I'll put the customer name in. Or I don't like this word, I'll use the other word. That takes 2 seconds. But it's the 0 to 1 part that takes a lot of time, right? So ChatGPT is absolutely amazing at getting you from 0 to 1. Just for the people who don't know a whole lot about it, let me move this thing over here. These are the kind of controls of Zoom, so they get out of my way. Let me just show you what you can do. Make it shorter, just showing you what it can do, right? And also stronger. I want it to be stronger. I read this and it's too nice. This person has done this to me before, right? So I'm going to make it shorter and stronger, right? So it says, here's a more concise and firmer version. Now you can see, just to show you, outstanding payment. Now it says immediate action required, right? This delay is serious and affects our ability to serve you. Failure to comply will force us to take actions. Now you can say more serious, less serious, softer. You can do anything. This thing will do anything you want. Okay. So it's very important for you to understand that, and this is a mindset thing I was talking to Rick about. I want to talk about the mindset behind using this tool. So I'm a productivity coach, and the way that I look at productivity is the following. It's the Pareto principle. It's the 80-20 rule, right? 20% of the things you do give you 80% of your value. So what a productive person does is they focus on what's called their 20%. If you know, if you've heard of Gay Hendricks, a very successful author, he calls this your genius zone. Dan Sullivan of Strategic Coach would call it your unique ability. These are the things that only you can do. You're amazing at them. You love them. You're passionate about them. That's where the real value is. So productivity is focusing on that 20%. Okay. The other 80% in my world of productivity, you want to optimize, automate, and outsource, right? Because that's not my thing, right? I want to optimize, automate, and outsource the other 80%. Okay. So what we do here is you got to ask yourself a question, right? Is sitting down here and spending, the next 10 minutes writing this email my 20%? And usually it's not, right? The content, maybe there's something that I want to express to someone, but the actual writing of it, thinking all that stuff, I want someone else to do that. If I could, prior to this, I would have had to do it, because I'd say, hey, no, this email is my 20%. And by the way, this isn't just for you. This is for the people who work for you as well, right? Because what we want to do is liberate your time so you can focus on that 20%, right? So what do? With Chat GPT, you can now, this is like a combination of automating and outsourcing. I can have the machine do this work, and now I'm liberated, because instead of this taking me 10 or 15 minutes, maybe it takes me 3 or 4, because now all I have to do is tweak a couple of things. Okay, so this can help you generate ideas. Let me give you other areas where it can help you, right? Let me give you an example. Let's just say hypothetically, I want to do this for marketing, right? I want to come up for Instagram posts and things like that. I could say, I have a financial planning firm in Orange County, California. Please create 10 Instagram posts that include hashtags and emojis. Okay, just making it up, right? Just want to show different functional areas as well, right? So this is a financial planning firm, right? So it's just creating these things. This is for, social media, if you want to reach out to people, right? You could say, make them funny, make them more serious, create 10 more, add in this, add in my website, and it'll produce all this kind of stuff, right? So it can help you, do all these different kinds of things, okay? So what you're only limited by is your imagination. I've used this thing, for example, when we sit down with families to do succession planning, things like trusts and wills. And I'm not a lawyer. I work with the lawyers, but I work with the family, and I'm kind of the liaison with the lawyer. So I've actually sat down the other day. I had a conversation with a person who wanted to do something with respect to how they transfer things like jewelry, that their mother gave them jewelry in a certain way. And she explained this thing was just honestly very convoluted and kind of confusing. And so I just took down all the notes. I went to Chat GPT and I said, think like a succession lawyer. This is another thing. These things are called prompts, right? So this is the way you ask it questions. So where it gets interesting is when you say things like, think like a social media specialist, think like a lawyer. So I said, think like a succession lawyer. And now what ChatGPT does, because this thing knows everything up to a certain cutoff date. It's like April 2021 or September 2021. But prior to that, like it knows everything about everything. It's kind of amazing, right? So think like a succession lawyer. I have a client, by the way, I never put in names. Don't put in names of people. Don't put in confidential information, because if you remember up top, it'll say, dear customer name, and then you can fill in the name, right? Because this is a website. So you want to be putting confidential information of anybody into some website. As much as I like ChatGPT and OpenAI, I don't put confidential information, right? So I said, I have a client whose mother did this and she wants to do something similar. Write the clause. And this thing wrote, oh, and by the way, here's another amazing prompt. And tell me anything I haven't considered. So this thing went through, read what I wrote. It wrote out a clause, a legal clause that was absolutely perfect and said, hey, Joey, by the way, here's 3 things that you guys haven't considered. So I grab that. I take the text, which has the 3 things I haven't considered. I send it over to the lawyer and I say, hey, listen, this woman wants to do this. Here's the text. Can you please review it? The lawyer wrote me back a half hour later and said, Joey, this is perfect. We can put it right in. Now, what did I do? Okay, think about this. If I ask the lawyer and I say, hey, will you please write this text? And I send that to her. She's she's like one of these higher end lawyers, right? It's going to take her time. She's got a lot on her plate, and sitting down to write something, remember, 0 to 1 takes a lot of time. So 0 to 1, I don't get that thing back from that lady for 7 to 10 days. But since I wrote in the subject, review, text, here's the text, just review, she went in, read it, and we're like, this thing's I think she changed 1 word. Now, I saved 10 days of time for my client, and I also saved legal time because she didn't have to spend an hour and a half writing this thing. So I probably saved my client $500, right? And again,
Yep.
This was just,
I was just going to say, there's been a conversation in chat about doing this, writing your prompts in Spanish. If you could speak to that as well.
You can do it. You can do it in English, in Spanish. This thing speaks every language. I have a client who's from Sweden, and he's like, hey, Joey, he lives in Panama. He's from Sweden. And he's like, Joey, I want to test this thing out. I want you to take what you just wrote and translate it. And he read it and he's like, wow, that is perfect. So you can do it in English and ask for the results in Spanish. You can write it in Spanish and ask for the results in English. Like literally every combination, you can just say, translate to Spanish. And this thing will translate the whole thing to Spanish in 2 seconds. So my thinking, even though I speak Spanish, I say very well. Sometimes I have my days, but my point is I think in English because I was born in the United States. My mom's from Colombia, my dad's from Cuba, and I grew up speaking Spanish, but more family Spanish and all that. So I grew up in the States and I think in English, right? When I'm speaking Spanish, I'm not translating, I'm speaking Spanish. But when you sit down to think about work or whatever, I think in English, there's no questions asked. So half the time I'll write this stuff out in English and I'll say, give me the result in Spanish. And it'll just automatically I don't have to say translate, it'll just do it, right? So you're 100%, every language works perfectly, okay? So you can use this, and we're gonna talk about how you can use it in your personal life as well, okay? So this thing will just keep going, I could ask it a million questions. So what you wanna do is you wanna be, and I think Rick mentioned, the most important word is curious. You want to start using this thing. You want to start playing with this thing, testing its limits. What can it do? What can't it do? This is by far the best use of your time. This thing is like having the best assistant ever on steroids. It never gets tired. It never needs vacation. It's always on, and it knows everything about everything. Now, when you're doing stuff like writing and all this stuff, you've got to read everything. And some of the stuff, when you ask it questions, you want to check it. You can't just blindly take what Chat GPT does, copy, paste, and go. You want to use your judgment, but this thing is pretty good. And I'm going to show you some really cool use cases now. Okay, so you could think about your functional area. You could say, I mean, I could write in here, I have a small, medium business. I really don't have any HR policies. Can you give me best practices for human resources? The thing will just write it out. You can do a million things. I'm looking to grow my company. This is what we do. The more information you give ChatGPT, the better. So let me show you something here. Let me go to a new chat. Okay. I'm going to show you some cool stuff here. So now let me just get into one other thing here, which is the concept of prompts and then constructing prompts and then making a library of prompts. Okay. So when you're working in business, a lot of times there's things that we have to do repeatedly, right? They're part of our processes. So the first thing that I do is I'm always thinking, how can Chat GPT help me do this? Like before I start to do anything, I ask myself that question. Can this thing help me do it? Right? So I'm going to give you some examples of things that I've done with Chat GPT. So I'll give you one example. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of something called the Ackerman method for negotiating. It's in a great book called Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. And it's basically a negotiating strategy for how you can negotiate price. So I've had clients come to me, I'm a financial planner, and say, hey, Joey, I'm thinking about buying this house. And we run through the numbers and they say, I'm going to put in a bid. And I say, okay, let's Ackerman the person, right? Let's use the Ackerman method. So the Ackerman method is a specific method that you got to go through and apply percentages to the price of the house and negotiate and all that. So I created a prompt. And if you're going to notice, look at my screen that I write down here, @ACK. Okay, hold on a second. And now look what it did. It wrote out a whole prompt. So what I did, just to be clear, is I wrote out and told ChatGPT that there's a thing called the Ackerman method, which, by the way, it already knew what it was. Okay. And I wrote out an entire prompt one time for one person, the first person I did it with. And then I saved this as a text replacement. So let me explain how this works. Everybody's phone, everybody's tablet, everybody's computer has what's called text replacement. It allows you to put a little code that turns into whatever text you want, right? So you might write OMW and it'll write on my way, right? Like on your phone or whatever, right? So I just created very, very long text replacements that are longer, right? So this is @ACK is the text replacement for the Ackerman method. So I wrote, below I will give you the Ackerman method with percentages I want you to use. Then I want you to give me a table of offering prices for a property I want a target price of, and I left the 310. I just changed the price. Include in the table the columns for the increase in dollars and percentage from offer 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. And then I tell it how this whole thing works. Okay. So all I do is press enter. This is the Ackerman method programmed into ChatGPT. So it's telling me the first price, 3 raises. So let's calculate the values. Now it's doing the work for me. I used to have to do this in an Excel. Just wait a second.
While we're waiting for this, just want to let you know that there was a request for a little more clarification on the @ACK part.
Yeah, so let me explain what happens with text replacement. Let me open up my thing. Okay, so here you'll see, by the way. So when you go to do text replacement, so here's the prices, right? I would offer 201,000, then I would go to 263, then 294, and it's showing you the increases. So I could say to the person, hey, when you go to offer, first offer 201, then offer 263, then 294, then whatever, right? So now they've got the table of what they have to offer. So let me go back to the text replacement. When you do text replacement, and let me actually open it up and show you on my computer, because I think that'll be helpful. Give me 1 second. Okay. So let me stop the share. Can you guys see my little screen here?
Yes.
Okay. So this is the code, right? You put the code, this is text replacement on your keyboard. If you go to Mac, System Preferences, Keyboard, and then Text, right? What you do is it enables you to substitute words, right, in for a code. So for Ackerman method, because I don't want to have to do this every time. I have a lot of people come and say, hey, Joey, I'm thinking about buying a property, whatever. Like it's not my, let's go back to the 80-20. It's not my 20% to open an Excel and calculate 7 numbers, right? That's not a value added activity. So if I can automate that or outsource that, I'm going to do that. So I told the computer, and here's where you can see it. Like here's the whole text replacement, right? So why do I put the at first? Because if you don't put the at, and then you're writing on your computer and you go to write the word like acknowledge, it'll write out the Ackerman method because they both start with ACK, right? Anytime you write ACK, it's going to write out this thing. So by putting the at sign in front of it, I basically ensure that there's no word that I'm ever going to write that has ACK, that starts with ACK, right? So I do that, like look at CAL, right? I might write a word that starts with CAL. And if I didn't put the at sign in front of it, it'll put whatever that text replacement is. Does that make sense?
Yes, and there was a question for you in chat from Sherry Snelling. She asked, do you see Chat GPT replacing the need for businesses to hire any professional writers, articles, blogs, white papers, even if the writer is an expert in a certain area or topic?
Yeah, I think that what's going to happen is, and I think this is what's happened every time with technology. I don't want to go too far down this rabbit hole of what it's going to do to jobs, because I want to focus on the benefits. I tend to think that technologies like this liberate people so they can go deeper and open up new possibilities of new things that we couldn't even think of. So I think net over time, it's going to create jobs, not destroy jobs. That doesn't mean some people's jobs won't get changed or some people won't have to pivot, but that's the world we live in, right? But again, I don't want to go too far down that rabbit hole because that's a philosophical discussion that can take us off track. So I wanted to show you this because once you start developing prompts and you find a prompt that works for you, you want to save that prompt if you think you're going to have to do this again. So let me give you another example. I told you guys that I'm in Dan Sullivan's Strategic Coach, right? That is a program that teaches people how to grow their businesses. And he has processes and thinking tools. And some of those thinking tools they're really amazing tools. So what I did was I programmed them into Chat GPT. So for example, he has one tool, a thinking tool, it's called the unique naming process, right? There's a value to naming the processes of your company, both externally processes and internally methods. There's a whole host of reasons why they do it. It's a really great thing for your business to be naming things. I'm not going to get into the whys of all that now, just know it's important. And there's a whole entire thinking tool based on that. So I created a text replacement, which is called UN, unique naming. And here it is. Think like Dan Sullivan and his strategic program. Dan Sullivan is a well-known entrepreneur speaker. I explained to ChatGPT the context, right? He's the co-founder of Strategic Coach. I want to come up with unique names for the methods and processes of my company. We help people organize their personal finances and affairs. I will give you the following information and you will give me a list of 20 name options based on the criteria and formula below. All answers should be in Spanish and English. In my particular country, in Panama, you can go back and forth between English and Spanish. You can mix them. That's okay here. In other countries, it would be just do it in English or just do it in Spanish or French or whatever you want. Below is some information to guide you. And here comes the part of the tool of Dan Sullivan's tool. You have to put in what's the general description of the method or process. And I would say, this is a succession planning process to capture information for their will, whatever. Okay. How are my clients better off? Well, they have peace of mind. They feel like they're organizing their personal affairs. They feel confident, whatever it is, right? What do I want them to feel? You just fill it all out. And then I give the formula. Start with the word the, next add a keyword, next add a technical word. And here are the examples of all the different words. And so when you go through and you do this, this thing will produce 20 amazingly unique names for processes and methods in my company. And if I would have done that, it would have taken me an hour. And now all I have to do is fill in XXX, XXX, XXX. Now, it doesn't mean that necessarily of those 20, I'm going to like them. I might say, give me 20 more, but it might jog my thinking and make me get to another place. And I did it the other day, and I came up with a name for a process, an internal process of our company that would have taken me an hour. It took me about 15 minutes. Hey, 45 minutes is a big deal, right? Because that's 45 more minutes I have for my 20%. My 20% at work or my 20% in life. Exercising, being with my family, right? These are my 20% in my life. So this tool helps you. It liberates your time so you can focus on what's most important, okay? So I want to show you some other stuff. I want to go now to, hold on a second. Oops. Let me go back to Chat GPT. I want to do a new chat, and I want to show you Chat GPT 4, which is the $20 version. And I want to show you something called the plugins. So the plugins are amazing. This is where you take Chat GPT and it's like an app store for Chat GPT, right? So you can go to the plugin store. You guys can see my screen, right?
Yes.
Okay. And there are literally like hundreds of these plugins. Like, I mean, you can just go on and on. You can go through it on your time. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just show you a couple. Okay. These are the ones I have installed, and you can only select 3 at a time. I don't know why they do this. There's one thing about ChatGPT that you got to understand. This is like year 1 of ChatGPT. So not everything's perfect. There's a million ways they can make this thing better, but whatever, like this thing is amazing. It's like having the first version of the iPhone, right? Like think of the 2008 iPhone versus the one you have in your hand today. Like those are 2 drastically different things, but you want to be in early on this, right? So check this out. Look at this one called Video Insights. Okay. So what I did was so you guys wouldn't have to see me type. What I did was I went ahead and I created a prompt. And what Video Insight does is, let me just show you. Video Insight will watch any video on YouTube, Vimeo, whatever. It will watch the video, read the video, because all these videos are transcribed, and then do whatever you want. So I'm using an example of my house. My health is very important to me. So I wanted to make low glycemic index tortillas because, you know, I'm trying to watch my sugar and be healthy and all this kind of stuff, right? So I get online and I go to YouTube and I find a video. So watch what Video Insights does. Use Video Insights to give me a step-by-step instructions on how to make these tortillas. This video, guys, let me just show you the video so you can see it. By the way, you could do this with a video for work. Watch this video, make 10 Instagram. You made a video of your company. Watch this video. Sorry. Watch this video. Okay. So this is the guy making the tea to the, you know, the tacos or whatever, right? So watch this. I did this the other day with a client where they had one of their own videos for their company, and we had it watch the video and create 20 Instagram posts based on the video and including the link to the video so they could send to their customers. So here it is. It already watched the video, and now it's giving me a step-by-step instructions on how to do this. That's in Spanish, right? I asked for it in Spanish, right? Because, I'm going to give it to someone here who speaks Spanish, and they're going to do this, right? Okay.
Hey, Joey,
So-
there's a couple questions. Maybe you can
Sure.
touch on them. One was, are plugins only available in Chat GPT version 4?
Yes, you have to have the paid version, the $20 version that gives you plugins in Chat GPT 4. I want to talk about that for a second. Like, this is $20, guys. Like, I want you to think about something, okay? Like, go back in time. I don't know when Google was founded, right? 1998, 2000, whatever year it was. Imagine somebody said, hey, listen, there's this new technology called Google that not really a lot of people know about, right? They're not, like, if you get out, even in this world of business people, guys, only 20% of you guys are using it. 80% aren't. So go out to the general population of regular people. No one is using this thing. And I said to you, you can start to interact with one of the greatest technological advances there is, Google, for $20 a month, and you can have a head start over everybody. Would you have done that 20 years ago? Probably. That would have been a good call, considering how important Google is in the world. So it's the same thing with Chat GPT. So check this one out. Here's one called Web Pilot. Web Pilot will go to websites, read them, and then do stuff. So I said, use Web Pilot to read this site. By the way, it's the site for Ref, okay? Go to the Ref website and tell me the advantages of joining Ref, and then make a slide presentation on it. So this thing is going to go to the Ref website, read the entire website, and make a slide presentation. Again, 0 to 1. Maybe you got to make a presentation on something that a new area you're going into, and you say, go to these websites, get the information, put it all together. It's doing it in Spanish, right? Because the one before is in Spanish. But I could ask for it in English and it'll translate in 2 seconds. But I want you to see what this thing did. It just went to an external website, read it, and it's giving me the summary right now. It's telling me the advantages: personal growth, being in a community, growth, a global network, relationships, and here comes the presentation. Here you go. Okay, so now I could download the file and you can see that. So anyway, this is amazing stuff, guys. Okay, now there's something else I want to show you that comes in ChatGPT 4. Okay, oops, again, did the same thing. Sorry about that. I want to go back to ChatGPT. And I want to now go to Code Interpreter. Code Interpreter just came out, and I'm just starting to play with it. This thing allows you to analyze data and input things like Excels and CSVs and all that kind of stuff, okay? So check this out. I'm going to ask it first, can you tell me more about your new Code Interpreter capability, what it is, what it can do? Give me examples for all the functional areas of business, right? I did this prompt on purpose because I want you guys to see what this thing can do. Okay. So it can run code snippets in supported languages like Python to perform various task simulations. So it can do budget analysis, investment analysis, calculate the future value of investment, accounting. It can analyze data sets. It can clean up data sets, marketing segmentation, can do a whole lot of stuff, right? So I just want to show you, I created a couple of prompts just so you could see how this thing works, right? So imagine this is actually a situation that happened with a client of ours, okay? So I got a client who is going to be in maybe 10 years, they're going to be thinking about retiring or a little bit earlier than that. And so they have a certain lifestyle that they want to live, and they own a company, okay? And so what we wanted to do was figure out what did they have to sell their company shares at in the future in order to fund the lifestyle that they want. So we started out and we said the following question. Now, by the way, let's go back and talk about the 80-20. Everything I'm about to show you as a financial planner, I could do. Like I could open an Excel and run all these calculations. I know how to do it. But again, it's not my 20%. And by the way, there might be someone out there who's not so financially inclined and doesn't know how to do this. So I'm just showing you the capabilities of this thing, right? So for example, what's the valuation of a company that has a 500K EBITDA and can sell at 7 times EBITDA, right? So this is not a very complex thing. You'll see that it's going to answer. Okay, it's telling me, it's going to give me the answer, right? 3.5 million bucks. That's not hard to figure out, but we'll let it do it. Okay, perfect. So now remember, I'm trying to figure out what this person wants to sell the company at in the future. So I say, I own 50% of the company. If I want to receive 5 million for my part of the business in 7 years, what EBITDA will we need to have and how much the EBITDA have to grow per year to achieve this? Now we're getting into a little bit more advanced calculations here, right? This is opening up Excel, right? So let's see what it does. It's telling you how to do this now. So here it goes. Okay, so it's saying the required EBITDA to get to the valuation is 1.428, right? And that means that the EBITDA has to grow from now until then at a rate of, let's see what it says, right? But again, understand, if you're not a financially minded person and you're trying to do this, like you don't know how to do this. And you got to call someone or ask someone or pay someone. Now, if you're financially minded, you can do it. But the question is, do you want to spend the time doing this, or do you just want to ask this thing in 1 minute and have it done? So now just the final question, if I want to actually see how the EBITDA grows from that to that, I ask for it, show me how the EBITDA grows from 500 to 1.48 in table form. Okay. So now it's going to do a little bit of work. And now I can have a conversation. Look at how this works. Now I can have a conversation with that business owner about how do you grow your EBITDA every year at 16%. And that's the real conversation to have. Mm-hmm. That's the value added conversation, because I didn't have to spend all the time calculating this. I can run it. I can sit down and go, look, this is what your company has to do. Now let's sit down and help you come up with a plan so you can go from 500 to 580 to 674 to whatever. And
hey,
this,
Joe, I don't mean to interrupt, but we have about 10 minutes left, and we wanted to leave a couple minutes at the end for the QR code, etc. And there's a couple things in chat that maybe, can we switch the focus now to if there's any other questions or comments that you'd like to speak to?
100%. We can do that.
Okay. So a question was, do you know if Chat GPT can be used as a video or audio transcriptor?
So there are plugins, and that's why I say it's very important. Let me do this here. It's very important that you go and look in to the plugins, because this thing has literally hundreds of plugins. So you could probably actually, let's just try it out. Let's do this, right? Let's go to YouTube. I'm going to pick a video that's not so long, right? I don't want to pick like a massively long video. Hold on a second. I don't want to pick like a massively long video here. Let's see. Let's just pick this video. Whatever, it's Tom Hardy, whatever the guy's doing. I don't know what the guy's doing.
Sure, and we're an LGBT.
Okay, so let's actually see now if we take this and you say, now actually, this is a video that's already been transcribed, so that wouldn't be fair. I would say go on to Chat GPT, look in the plugins, and see if that is the capability it has. It probably can. I don't know the answer to that question. You got to check the plugins. There's just too many plugins. Like there's literally like 300 plugins or more.
So if you pay the $20 a month for Chat GPT 4, are the plugins then immediately available like you just showed on your screen? Nothing else needs to be done?
Nothing else needs to be done. All you do is pick your plugin. There is everything on here. I mean, there is absolutely everything. By the way, this one, Zapier, for those of you who know what Zapier is a service that connects to software, so you don't have to hire a program developer. So if it makes two softwares talk to each other, like if this happens in Gmail, then do this in Instagram, that kind of thing. And connecting ChatGPT to Zapier takes it to a whole nother level because that allows it to connect to a million other things. So all the plugins are available immediately once you get the $20 version.
Do you know of any service or place that you can subscribe to be notified of new plugins that are being added to this plugin store?
No, I haven't heard of that. Okay. I would love for that, but I think that they're also adding them at such a clip that it's kind of like the Apple App Store where you're like, there's so many things in there now that it's kind of unwieldy. But no, I don't know the answer to that question.
Okay. So someone did say they have the paid version, but for some reason are not able to see the plugin. So that's.
Oh, yeah, no, that's one of the main features is the ability to have all these different plugins. I mean, and there's ones that are even more simple. Like, for example, just to show you something more, let me show you this one here. You guys heard of Turo?
Sure.
Like, I am going to Miami next week and want to rent a car in the range of 100, or let's just say I want to rent an SUV, right? And by the way, all this stuff is getting better and better and better. They're connecting it to Expedia and all that kind of stuff. Use Turo to give me options that are highly rated. And this thing will go search Turo, right? Like, go on, next question, sorry.
Oh, there were some comments on to help find the plugin. So Hale said you need to enable plugins in the settings. And if you don't know how to do that.
Over here to settings and beta. And then you go over here and it's got beta features. And you can turn them on. Let me show that again. You go down to the name of your account, the three little buttons at the bottom, settings and beta, and then go to beta features.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Maybe a final question is integrating Chat GPT onto other platforms like your phone with Siri or WhatsApp. Have you?
Yeah, 100%. So Chat GPT has its own app on the iPhone. I believe it just came out with one on Android as well. So I don't really see the need to connect it to Siri, especially, by the way, there are rumors coming out that Apple will be launching pretty soon, hopefully, because, you know, Apple's Apple, their own kind of Chat GPT or whatever, and we'll see how it goes. Right now, Google has one. It's called Bard. I don't think it's even close to Chat GPT. For me, Chat GPT is the best one. And all you do with the phone is you open the app, and the cool thing, it's got voice interface, so you can actually talk to it, and then it'll just respond to you. The plugins don't work. The plugins don't work on the phone. They only work on the web. But I'll give you a real life example. Yesterday, my son came to me and said, you know, I don't understand something in math. And he's gotten to a point where I don't remember the math from high school. You know what I mean? Like, it's at some point you forget, right? So I just said, hey, ChatGPT, and this is an important point. I said, hey, ChatGPT, my son came to me. He's in, you know, this grade, and this is the math problem he's doing. Please tell us how to do it step by step. And if there's any shortcuts, let us know. And the thing answered perfectly. And I told my son, and I said, listen, I want to explain to you how this works because we installed it on his phone. I said, ChatGPT for you can either be used for good or bad. This is the greatest productivity tool that I've ever seen. And it's just like any other tool. You can use a fork to eat dinner, or you can use a fork to stab someone. If you use this so it tells you the answers and you don't learn how to do it, you're going to have a problem because you're going to fail your test. But if you use this as a tutor, if you use this to help you when you're stuck, tell it, I'm stuck. This is a 24/7, always on, amazing tutor. And he went away, and then like 5 minutes later, he's in the other room, and I heard him say, I'm stuck with this. Please tell me how this works. Explain it to me. And then, we need to get our kids also to be using these tools, because everyone is going to be using an AI. Remember what I said before, AI is not taking your job. A person using AI is going to take your job, right?
Right. And so we have about 3 minutes left, and I want to just comment that a lot of knowledge has been shared in the chat between the participants today, in addition to what has come from Joey and his experience. So I want to thank the interactivity that's gone on, and encourage you, when you get the video recording of this, if you didn't see all the chat comments, to kind of check that out.
Yeah, I do want to say one thing because it's important. You
Okay.
got to check Chat GPT. You can't blindly just accept what it says, right? So when I ask it to write something for me, I read it. When I ask it information about historical stuff, I always double check because it can, quote unquote, hallucinate, they call it. So don't just blindly follow this thing. But the fact that it's not perfect sometimes, or the fact that it makes mistakes, you don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Like, there's so much more benefit, right? Again, use your judgment, read everything, but you got to get into this tool. You got to start using it, because it changes your whole world.
And I wonder if Fabrizio could bring up the QR code for those that are interested in becoming a part of the founding member of the AI Curious. Just snap that with your phone. Adds you to our ever-increasing list.
Yes, I know I can stay on for like 1 or 2 minutes after, if you guys can, but I guess my main message here is this is an amazing tool that allows you to focus on what's most important in your life, because it liberates your time. The biggest asset you have by far, is your time, right? So if you can have something that can allow you to liberate time so you can focus on the most important things, your health, your family, your 20% in your business, right? That is something that, to me, is an amazing investment. And you have to have a level of curiosity. You've got to go in there, tinker with it, try prompts. They don't work, try again. Some of these prompts, I had to spend, I'll give you an example. This is just one quick example. I have a process that I use with prospects for people who are thinking of becoming clients of ours. I ask them 4 questions, and then I have to analyze the answers from those questions and put it into my sales proposal. The analysis of that used to take me an hour. It took me one day, an hour, to come up with a prompt that actually takes, I say, I asked this person these 4 questions. They answered in this way. I want you to put their answers in this way, with this logic and this thinking, and give me the result. And I did that. I invested 1 hour of my time, and now my sales proposals don't take me an hour to do. They take me 10 minutes. And that 50 minutes of time can be spent on 10,000 other things of more value than me sitting there doing that. Now, of course, I read the answer, I adjust it, I play with it, but from 0 to 1, nothing better.
Fabrizio, I think we can stop sharing the QR code now. Hopefully everybody's had a chance to snap it while Joey was giving his final thoughts. We're at the top of the hour. We really appreciate everyone's time today. We look forward to having you participate in one of our next events here at REF, and having Joey as a subject matter expert and a member of the REF community is such a privilege. We're open to learning from you. If you know someone that would be a good guest to be here on the next webinar, please let us know. Until the next time we're all together. Thank you, Joey. You did an outstanding job. Thank you, everyone, for commenting on chat. I hope you all have a fantastic rest of the week.
Take it easy.